I tried. For several years, I've been trying. I was attempting to convince myself that I could be happy drinking bourbon out of some type of regular cup. Maybe I'm just in denial. Maybe I'm just as shallow as those individuals that I find so extremely tedious to deal with. We all have them, those people we dread talking to, but due to circumstances beyond our control, we have to interact with somewhat regularly. I refer to those shallow people in my mind as puddles. If you're walking, you usually try to avoid the puddles. Puddles are only fun when you can jump on them. Jumping on people is frowned upon. Pity. Wait a second. I wonder if I come off as an alcoholic because I mentioned drinking in my story so much. I am not an alcoholic. But wouldn't that be the exact kind of thing an alcoholic might say? It comes down to timing. I have a real passion for writing, and now bringing forth my writings in this new and exciting format. The thing is, sitting down to write is a major commitment. To get my ideas written down in a coherent form means I need a couple hours of uninterrupted time. It might not seem like it, but writing several pages is also a draining experience. I agonize over what I write and end up deleting more curse words than you would believe possible. My fingers have a potty mouth. It's not always easy, and I don't have a lifestyle where I can write 2 or 3 hours in the morning and then take a nice long nap. My writing waits until I have some free time in the evening. I also need an evening when I'm not physically exhausted from dealing with customers that should be publicly flogged for their behavior. Why did America move away from having stocks in public squares anyways? I bet nobody in the 1700s would have bought a cell phone and then demanded a refund 4 days later because they dropped it off the back of their truck and the screen cracked. I think 20 lashes at noon in the parking lot would have been an appropriate response from our management team. Unfortunately, the wussification of our society has continued unabated. I know exactly what I'm talking about, but perhaps you are lost. I'm explaining that I'm not an alcoholic, but writing takes time. Well, drinking does too. I enjoy having the occasional drink. I've always felt and tried to practice the idea that if one decides to drink, they have an obligation to drink responsibly. That means I usually drink only at those instances where I've ample time to avoid driving or working, where I'm often called upon to deal with irrational customers, some of whom have, ironically, been drinking before showing up at my workplace and acting unreasonable. Drinking and writing both take time. That's why I often do both together. The fact that many famous writers were also known to imbibe in the spirits doesn't lend much weight to my argument of not being an alcoholic, although the very fact that I'm not famous yet may be the key. I'm not an alcoholic because I'm not famous yet. Now we can go back to the issue of the cup. I once bought a set of 4 Waterford Crystal double old-fashioned glasses to drink out of. I paid about $100 for that set of 4 cut lead crystal cups. This was many years ago, and those $25 a piece glasses have all gotten broken and are no more. I blame my exposure to the original Dallas TV show. I can still picture J.R. Ewing making himself a drink in a fine crystal glass. For several years, I tried and failed to convince myself that the bourbon was the same no matter if I drank it from a mason jar or an expensive handcrafted piece of lead crystal. I would like to tell you that the way the crystal catches the light and the melodic tinkle of the ice when swirled in the glass makes a difference. Maybe it does, and the drinking experience is enhanced by drinking from such a chalice. Maybe I'm just shallow and like drinking out of fancy glasses. Either way, I found a deal and got a set of 2 new Waterford Crystal double old-fashioned glasses in an estate sale for $25. That's a pretty good deal. I'll just buy more when these inevitably get broken too. Till then, I'm truly happily enjoying my bourbon tonight. This is in the middle of the second typewritten page. I've already written in excess of 700 words, actually almost 800. I haven't even gotten to the reason that I'm writing tonight. Cooking. A cookbook was probably my first real book. I printed off copies at a local office supply store and gave them away as Christmas presents to friends and family. I still use my personal copy because I put in many of my favorite recipes. I love rum cake. I haven't managed to memorize that recipe yet. I've been wanting to do an update, not because I think it will be a bestseller, but mainly for my own convenience. I have lots of recipes on my computer, and when I want to cook one, it means I usually print out a copy of the recipe, which is somewhat wasteful because I always lose the copy by the next time I want to cook it. I'd like to be in digital format also because I have this fantasy where I could use a tablet set up in the kitchen to display the ingredients and directions as I cook. This is a fantasy because I doubt the tablet would continue working after I accidentally spill something like cookie cherry on it. Do you have a philosophy of cooking? I do, and I'm also trying to find a good title for my upcoming book. I have philosophies about all kinds of things. Philosophizing is a favorite pastime of authors and alcoholics, now that I think about it. I don't exactly think I'll be writing a best-selling recipe book. Ah, who am I kidding? I fully expect that my upcoming cookbook will become to be known as the definitive cookbook of the 21st century. I'll probably have my own channel on cable. Does a famous chef have minions? I've always wanted minions. I like to think of cooking as an art, more of an organic process of creation than a scientific one. Think about a tree. You ever seen two trees that are exactly alike? I'm not talking about shaped alike, like Fraser fir Christmas trees, but exactly alike, down to the last leaf. Of course you haven't. Every tree is an individual. Similar enough so that you can tell what kind it is. Telling the difference between an oak and a pine tree is easy. I think great cooking is like that. One of my favorite recipes has always been my grandmother's macaroni and cheese casserole. For many years, she would never share the recipe, not even with family. It was her specialty and hers alone. I remember vividly when she finally divulged to me the way to cook it. She told me at one point, it needs to be soupy. Sometimes it takes a dozen eggs or more. Keep adding them until it's really soupy. My grandmother cooked this dish probably hundreds of times. It was always easily recognizable as Nana's mac and cheese. Nobody else's tasted the same or as good. Nana used the same casserole dish each time. It was a real big one because everybody wanted seconds. She used the same ingredients, but she made sure to tell me it needs to be soupy. Sometimes it takes a dozen eggs or more. Keep adding them until it's really soupy. That means that the recipe wasn't set in stone. There wasn't an exact amount of ingredients. Each time it was subtly different, just like trees. I do see that this dish needs a framework. I mean, there needs to be enough similarity to be able to tell if you're eating a Greek salad or a meatloaf, but I dismiss the idea that one needs to use ultra-precise quantities of ingredients in order to cook great meals. It makes sense if you think about it. Potatoes come in all shapes and sizes. If a recipe calls for 2 pounds of potatoes and upon measuring you find that it comes out to 5.5 potatoes, what do? Throw away half a potato? That's not how grandma's cooked. The recipes were adjusted to accommodate the available ingredients. A cup of chopped onions was always a bit more or less than a real measured cup, depending on how big the onions were. Lately, I've been accepting the idea that cooking is also a spiritual experience. I believe that my cooking ancestors in the spirit realm are guiding my hands when I add a dash of seasoning, a good helping of chocolate chips, or to glaze a saucepan with a sweet red wine. They guide me and make sure I'm adding the exact quantities of ingredients necessary in order to create wonderful foods. In exactly the same way that they refuse to guide my hands in order to pick winning lottery numbers. The fairies will help. The little people hold the key to the lottery. I'm convinced of it. What about the title of Cooking with Spirits? Kind of a dual meaning. Embracing and opening yourself to the magic beyond the mundane. And at the same time, how easy would it be to fill a cookbook with things like beer battered chicken or pasta and shrimp with a light cheese wine sauce? My Derby pie is made with real Kentucky bourbon and rum cake. Well, that one's kind of obvious. Cooking is one of the great things that anyone could do. Heck, my son was making his own peanut butter and jelly sandwiches when he was 4 or so. And in my book, making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich is cooking. Why do so many cookbooks and recipe websites seem to change recipes for no real reason? Seriously. Take the classic mixed drink, the screwdriver, for instance. Doesn't get any simpler. 2 ingredients, vodka and orange juice. Some of the recipes call for garnishing with a slice of orange. I can maybe see that, but isn't garnishing a drink with fresh fruit just something that fancy bars do to justify charging you $5 for less than $1's worth of ingredients? Other recipes call for adding things like a pinch of salt. I don't get that. If I want salt in my drink, I'll order a margarita. Many recipes available via Google seem to have a slightly different ratio of vodka to orange juice. One recipe calls for 2 ounces of vodka mixed with 5 ounces of orange juice over ice. Another calls for just 1.5 ounces of vodka and 6 ounces of orange juice. Some recipes just say to measure the vodka and then fill the highball glass with ice and orange juice until it's full. Why must a screwdriver be served in a highball glass? Will it no longer be a screwdriver if I serve it out of a mason jar? What am I drinking when I add vodka to the almost empty container of orange juice and drink straight from the cardboard carton? Having rules about what kind of cup a drink is served in seems to be a communist approach to me, and it isn't likely to happen in my household, mainly because I'm not exactly sure what a highball glass is. Let's Google it. Did you know that a highball glass can hold between 8.1 and 11.8 ounces? Our drink glasses happen to currently be pint-sized Ball brand purple glass canning jars. A pint is 16 ounces, unless you live in England. We all know that a screwdriver is vodka and orange juice. Exact measurements aren't really required. For example, say one night it feels like you might be catching a cold. As a smart move, you fix yourself a tall glass of orange juice knowing that the vitamin C is necessary to maintain optimal health. On an impulse, you decide to add a small splash of vodka because, well, everyone knows that a good night's sleep is important if you might be getting sick to allow your body to fight off infection. That's a screwdriver. Other times, you might want your vodka to have a slight orangish tint and the scent of citrus. That's a screwdriver too. My hope is to provide a recipe book that gives the framework of great recipes, but encourages the cook to allow their ancestors to guide them to create fantastic foods where requests for seconds are almost guaranteed. Cooking with Spirits by the Laughing Koi. Coming soon to a discount book rack near you.